Federal government gives assurance for smooth takeoff of economic zones in Cross River and Kano. Aviation Minister in Enugu says destruction of newly constructed concrete fence of the Akanu Imbiam International Airport, Enugu, unacceptable. Plus, Northern Governors Forum frowns at allegations of sponsorship of Boko Haram terrorists. These and more on Panorama today with me, Habiba Oladipo. Thanks for joining us. The federal government has reiterated its readiness to ensure smooth takeoff of the federal government's special economic zones located in Cross River and Kano states. Chimobi Walter Naji reports that this was made known at an event to engage the transaction advisors for the reforms in Abuja.
The over 100 billion naira sunk into the development and completion of the Kano and Cross River State Special Economic Zones and Export Processing Zones by the federal government last year. Efforts are still being made to ensure project takes off as soon as possible to ensure increased investment opportunities in the country. The signing of an agreement to engage the transaction advisors for the concessioning of the project is to kickstart arrangements for the takeoff of the zones.
We have gotten to the point where things will finally be consummated.
What we are looking at basically is to have a three-tier structure for the concessioning of the two free trade zones. One is the selection of a property ownership company that will have the legal ownership of the two free trade zones. We will then appoint a concessionaire.
The zones, when fully operational, is believed to act as a catalyst for the development of Nigeria's manufacturing sector and growth of the rail sectors. In Abuja, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
The Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, is leveraging on the August break to repair roads nationwide. The Federal Capital Territory is equally undergoing repairs, with the Abuja Kefi being the latest. Ikechukwu Ndukwe reports.
Dawud Aramola, a frequent user of the Abuja Kefi road, felt relieved, citing the repairs of the lost portions where he had to dodge criminals who rob at the felled portion of the road at night on few occasions.
You know how this place can be, you know how we can be as Nigerians. At least that it's been done like this time. Beautiful.
FEMA is not just recovering lost pavements of the road, but even the shoulder to ensure expansion and smooth flow of traffic.
This particular axis, there is still an action going on where we call it snake farm on this particular axis before Kefi.
So we are putting a lot of time, a lot of resources to make sure these roads are well maintained at all times.
We will ensure that most of the drainages are taken care of, they are completely desilted, and the carriageways are properly patched.
In Abuja, Ikechukwu Ndukwe, NTA News.
The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Power has resolved to summon all agencies that have benefited from the 1.3 trillion naira so far injected into the power sector by the federal government. This has become necessary to reconcile figures presented by some agencies and the Office of the Accountant General with a view to properly guiding the House on the best way to handle challenges in the power sector. Chairman of the committee, Adodo Gua, stated this while briefing newsmen at the end of an interactive session with representative of the Central Bank Governor.
What is practically important in our engagement with the Central Bank today is like we have confirmed that significant amount of public resources have actually been injected into the power sector. And our concern as members representing the interests of our people basically is to find out why, despite these disbursements, huge disbursements of public funds, taxpayers' money, why is it that we still have problems bedeviling the power subsector of Nigeria? That has to be stopped.
The leader of the House of Representatives urged agencies to endeavor to respond to invitations when scheduled to avoid undue delays at arriving at legislative decisions. And the federal government is driving reforms in the housing sector to provide mass and affordable housing for Nigerians. Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says the new initiatives are to bridge the housing deficit in the country. Joshua Ojitu reports.
Driving the reforms in the housing sector is the Federal Housing Authority, whose mandate is to, among others, initiate and deliver mass housing for Nigerians, as well as reclaim government-owned property. With a housing deficit of more than 17 million, federal government has now developed a new approach to provide houses for Nigerians, and the new management team to drive the implementation has been inaugurated. They have the target to provide sites and services, houses for low and medium income earners, and partnering with financial institutions for funding.
And there are also the emerging demand among young people who want small spaces, who don't have this habit of building large houses. So those are the kind of people you perhaps need to survey what their needs are now and how to respond to them.
It is in support of this new direction that my colleagues and I hereby pledge our unalloyed support and commitment to the PMD-led administration's vision of providing affordable and accessible housing for Nigerians.
The new initiative is receiving legislative support towards ensuring that every Nigerian owns a house. In Abuja, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Minister of Aviation Senator Hadi Sirika has described as unacceptable the destruction of the newly constructed concrete fence of the Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, by an individual. The minister was in Enugu to inspect the level of damage on the perimeter fence, which is one of the component contracts in the Enugu Airport Rehabilitation Project. Susan Eze reports.
2 kilometers of the airport fence and some private property were on Wednesday pulled down by bulldozers allegedly deployed by one Mr. Jerry Emejulu, who is allegedly laying claims to the property. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika is here for an on-the-spot assessment of damages on the airport's property.
Also an opportunity for government to show that no one can take the law into his hands and willfully destroy national asset belonging to 200 million of all of us.
Enugu State Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi also visited the scene and condemned the act in its entirety. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
The federal government, in partnership with the International Fund for Agricultural Development, is set to plant 400,000 assorted fertilizer trees across 7 states of the Federation. Musa Baba Ali reports that the trees will be planted on 2,000 hectares linking Borno, Yobe, Jigawa, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, and Katsina states.
This tree, with botanical name Acacia Senegal, is popularly referred in northern Nigeria as Gao. Farmers call it fertilizer tree, though it is a desert plant which produces leaves during the dry season but dries up during the rainy season. 80-year-old Ahmadu Godebe, a farmer in Garki local government area of Jigawa State, says despite the organic nature of the tree for improving agricultural produce, people use most of the trees in this community for energy and shelter purposes. He said they regretted their action as they are now in their need of this wonder tree. Hope is not, however, lost for the 80-year-old farmer, as his farm is among the designated sites for the fertilizer tree planting project of IFAD and the federal government.
Research within the West African sub-region has shown that there was an increase of between 50 to 150% in the yield of millet grown under fertilizer tree cover.
Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Mohamed Sabananunu says the initiative will further assist in addressing soil degradation, improve soil fertility, and address poverty among the farming communities. Jigawa State is to seek a legislation for a stiffer punishment for any person who fell trees, especially Gao in the state.
We have raised 10 million trees in this state, and we still have about 24 nurseries that raise trees. We are going to double that in the next 3 years, and we will include Gao in this project.
Malam Ahmadu Godebe, alongside officials from the federal and state governments, pledged to nurse the planted trees. From Garki local government area of Jigawa State, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema has commended the Lebanese community in Nigeria for the repatriation of 500 stranded Nigerian girls working in Lebanon. Haman Jabani reports.
The joint meeting by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Lebanese ambassador to Nigeria, Hussam Diab, is to rub minds on the plight of the stranded Nigerian girls in Lebanon that were brought back on Wednesday night. Both parties highlighted the cordial relationship between both countries and promised the ties will be sustained, just as the Lebanese government has stopped the issuance of visa to young girls going to Lebanon to work as a measure to curb future occurrences.
And we have seen successive flights coming in, bringing back these Nigerians, the majority of whom are young girls. So we thank you very much for that cooperation between the private sector, the Lebanese community, and our two governments.
The numbers that are stranded are so far the ones that we have brought back. I think we're bringing back another 200 that are registered with the Nigerian embassy in Lebanon.
Geoffrey Onyema said federal government has concluded all arrangements to bring back Nigerian students in Saudi Arabia. He also sympathized with the government and people of Lebanon over the port blast that caused devastation, adding that Nigeria will gladly help in any way possible, saying no Nigeria is affected in the Beirut blast. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
You're watching Panorama on the network service of the NTA. It's time to take a break. We'll be back shortly with more reports.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
And here's an update of COVID-19 in the country. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 329 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The latest figures released bring the total number of confirmed cases to 48,445 infections in the country. A breakdown shows that the new cases are from 21 states, which indicates Lagos recorded the highest number for the day with 113 new cases, while Kaduna State has 49 new cases. The FCT recorded 33 new cases, Kano 16, Edo 15, Ogun 14, Delta 13, Oyo 8, others are Ekiti 6, Bayelsa 6, Akwa Ibom 5, Borno 4, Enugu 4, Ebonyi 3, Rivers 2. The day's tally is completed by Bauchi, Nasarawa, Gombe and Niger states, recording 1 case each. With the latest development, the total number of confirmed cases stands at 48,445, while 35,998 cases have been successfully treated and discharged, while 973 patients have unfortunately died from the infections. Security matters, Nigerian military scales up security operations in southern Kaduna and other parts of the country as Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole continues to take action against extremist movements. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports.
Isolated killings and attacks on communities in southern Kaduna have warranted the Nigerian military to deploy special forces and troops of Operation Safe Haven to the area. Other military operations in different zones of the country are also focusing on intercepting extremists trying to re-establish themselves across the West African sub-region.
This positive signal is connected to the directive by the Commander-in-Chief to the Armed Forces of Nigeria and other security agencies tackling the various security challenges in the country to go ahead and do more.
Meanwhile, the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has eliminated scores of Islamic State of West Africa province fighters and destroyed compounds housing them at Tongule in the Lake Chad area of northern Borno following confirmatory intelligence and surveillance missions. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has commended the Air Task Force for its professionalism. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Staying with security matters, special forces deployed to southern Kaduna to curb incessant attacks on communities have arrived Sector 7 headquarters of Operation Safe Haven in Kafachin for further redeployment to flashpoints. Mohammed Umar Ajinge reports that the Kaduna State Government delegation, led by the State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arunwan, says government will give the forces necessary support to succeed in the operations. He expressed optimism that the deployment of special forces to southern Kaduna will contain security challenges in the axis as the state government is conducting series of engagements with traditional rulers, religious and community leaders, civil society groups and other agencies for lasting solutions to the crisis. The governor's representative was received at the base by Commander Sector 7 Operation Safe Haven Kafanchan, Colonel David Nwokonob. And the Nigerian Navy has signed a memorandum of understanding which will expand the hydrological survey of the inland waterways to enhance the export of Nigerian goods, amongst other trade benefits. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports.
Displaying terms of an agreement which is projected to be a game-changer in exportation, the Nigerian Navy has cause to celebrate this strategic partnership, which will chart a new course in hydrological surveys.
Nigeria is blessed with vast maritime space, which have remained uncharted and ungoverned. Perhaps what we are doing now will have benefit from what we are putting in place.
That was the idea of setting up a maritime service that will facilitate the export of Nigerian commodities, especially bulk commodities.
The initiative is an extension of the Sea Link project, which coordinates inland waterways operations. And this strategic partnership will expand on all this to create new opportunities for trade to flourish. It is expected to also provide security support for safe navigation along trade routes. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
The Northern Governors Forum has described as baseless and unfounded allegations of one of its members as the leader of the deadly Boko Haram terrorist group by former Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Obadiah Melafia. Chairman of the Forum and Governor of Plateau State, Simon Bakola Long, says the forum is waiting for the outcome of the security investigation on the weighty and unverified claim by a man who should have assumed the position of schooling younger generation on the implication of false and unguided utterances.
The security organization is already investigating. Let them come out with their report. Once they investigate, even the federal government, they know what to do. Security situations in the country is very vital. So anybody that is making a statement should also know that it is doing a statement that will help in addressing the insecurity, not escalating the insecurity.
The chairman further explains that the forum will subsequently review the statement and take appropriate measures against any act of sabotage on its continued effort to end security challenges in the region. On the 27th of July 2020, the Department of State Services, DSS, alerted the nation on desperate efforts by some notable personalities trying to take advantage of the development in the country to cause a total breakdown of law and order. It also revealed that part of the orchestration was to engage in divisive acts as well as using insightful statements to pitch one group against another. A statement released by the Public Relations Officer, Department of State Services, Peter Afunaya, indicates with the latest occurrence in the country, Nigerians may have no reason to doubt the service earlier pronouncement of Dr. Obadiah Melafia's recent outburst aimed at playing to the gallery and creating unnecessary tension is a confirmation of the group's desperation to breach the peace. Melafia, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and currently a directing staff at Nigeria's foremost policy research institute, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Study, NIPS Kuru, has unhindered access to government platforms. It is expected that he should be conversant with official information management protocols. The service also wishes to warn others who, in the guise of political mobilization and supposed pursuit of group interests, engage in hostile and subversive activities to desist forthwith from advancing inimical and parochial causes, as it will henceforth not condone unruly conduct of persons or groups that ought to know better. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed and his transport counterpart Rotimi Amechi are on inspection tour of the 156-stretch Lagos-Ibadan rail line project being handled by the Chinese Civil Engineering Construction Company. ECC was awarded the project in 2021 but could not commence work immediately due to paucity of funds. In 2017, however, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo performed the groundbreaking ceremony when funds were made available by President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. The Lagos-Ibadan rail line is expected to have 10 stations, with the trains operating at a speed of 150 kilometers per hour. And now time for sports update with Ayodeji Makinde.